Hey guys, let me just open up my protein bar really quick. How are we doing? Guys, it's Friday, okay? All the struggles and all the strifes, they're over for 2 days, alright? It's gonna be a perfect weekend, guys. Don't even stress, okay? It is totally fine. But today we're going to be talking about the most stressful situation someone might ever be in. Murder. Sorry, I'm chewing. Guys, today we're going to be talking about and I know this sounds vulgar, because I shouldn't have, favorites, but, the most interesting true crime cases that I have came across over the years. Now, I do have to give some credit out, because I wouldn't have known anything about these cases if it weren't for these YouTubers that I watch. And that goes to Kendall Rae and Eleanor. I don't know her last name, but she has a really cool British accent. And she's really sweet. These YouTubers cover these stories in a whole lot more detail. So if you are interested and want to know more about any of these stories, I know, let me see. Out of all of these, Eleanor covers the Skylar Neese case, the Slender Man murders, and the lesbian vampire killer. And then Kendall Rae has videos on Elizabeth Smart and the Delphi murders. So, I'm going to be talking about these 5 cases today. These are, I had to, narrow these down too. I had a lot more. Maybe I can do a part 2 if you guys like this. But I am going to talk about 5 murder cases today. And I'm going to explain them kind of in a little bit of detail. So, just some trigger warnings. Obviously, murder, stabbing, I don't think there's any guns, maybe. I don't know, but kidnapping, I don't think there's any sexual stuff in any of these stories. Yeah, but just a warning, these are kind of graphic and it makes you sad. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is the Slender Man murders. So, we all know, we might know, this entity named Slender Man, okay? Alright, give me just a second. I need to take another bite. Okay, sorry. So we all know this character named Slender Man. He's kind of this creepypasta character. There's video games based off of him, and he basically, if you don't know anything about him, he basically is something to scare people. He hides in the woods, and he's really tall. He's slender. He's skinny. He has no facial features. He just has a white, bald head. And then sometimes he has, tentacles on his back that'll, grab people. So, basically, that's how he works and everything. But you can... Basically, he just targets children. Okay? Oh, by the way, he's 9 feet tall. Anyway, he targets children, but you can be saved from like not getting killed by him if you give him a sacrifice. Then you're a part of his like cult. So these two girls, I don't know their names. Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser or Geezer, were both, I think around 12 or 11 at the time of these murders. They were very, very young. So basically, these girls thought that Slender Man was real. Okay? And they were very, very scared by him. And actually, I think a contributing reason to why they thought that he was real was one of these girls had undiagnosed schizophrenia. And she had hallucinations and I think sleep paralysis as well. She probably genuinely saw Slender Man in real life because she is so scared of him and he's like on her mind. So she genuinely probably saw this creepy, scary man. So, and this was after she was convicted and everything, that she found out that she had this mental disorder. And that's what makes me so sad, is a lot of cases can be solved if there were better communication on what might be wrong with these people. And, they get the help that they need, or, they take them, if their parents are abusive, they take them away and they get new parents, you know what I mean? A lot of this can be solved a lot easier than the actual aftermath of all these, cases. So, these girls are like, we have to make a sacrifice. And, well, basically, it was the Geezer girl, the one who had schizophrenia. And she was like, we have to make a sacrifice. And the other girl was like, yeah, okay. She just kind of, like, did what that other girl did. Like, she just kind of, like, did what others around her did. She wasn't, like, a big, strong personality. Oh, by the way, the Eleanor YouTuber says something really, really nice before every video, and I want to explain that, too. I mean no disrespect to anyone that I talk about. Sometimes whenever I, like, want to be, like, nonchalant and not serious, I will say things and it doesn't sound as respectful as I should be. These are very, heartbreaking cases, and I don't want to sound, disheartening by being like, these are my favorite, or, like, I loved it when they killed this girl, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just interesting to me, the psychology behind it and everything. Yeah, I don't mean any disrespect. Anyway, so they are trying to find somebody to kill, to sacrifice. And they find this girl named Peyton Isabel Leuntner, also known as Bella. Anyway, so they are like kind of friends with her. Like, she goes to their school, they like know each other. So they have her go to the park, and these three girls are all walking in a park, and then all of a sudden the girls attack, and they start stabbing Peyton. I'm also driving right now, and I'm like looking at the wiki page, so I'm not trying to like look down, but later I'll show you like actual like amounts of like how many times she was stabbed. But she was stabbed a lot, and she was heavily injured, and the girls thought that she was dead. So that or some reason, maybe they got scared or something, or maybe they didn't think she was dead, but they got scared and they ran off. Okay? So they run off. By the way, hold on. Let me park real quick, because I want to like get into these details, because they're like crazy. But while I'm trying to park, guys, if you want to contribute to my podcast, literally at all, feel free to text me if you have ideas that you want me to do. Or I'm offering this up to anyone who's watching right now. If anyone wants to come and like talk on my podcast, guys, literally hit me up. Let's do it. Let's do like a little interview or something, or like we can just talk about something. I'm totally up for it. I think we would have such a good time, and I think everyone would really enjoy it. Yeah, it would be great. Anyways, okay, I'm parking right now. I can't move with one hand. I already can't park, and then I'm trying to park with one hand, like trying to turn this wheel. Okay. Oh. Don't even worry, guys. Don't even worry. Okay, I'm parked. Okay, so these girls were playing hide and seek. Okay? They stabbed her. They pinned her down and stabbed her 19 times in the arms, legs, and torso with a 5-inch long blade. 2 wounds were to major organs. One missed a major artery of her heart by less than a millimeter, and another went through her diaphragm, cutting into her liver and stomach. Okay, so yes, the girls were scared. They didn't think she was dead, and they went to go get help. But, whenever they, left, no help was gotten. I don't think they were, actually going to go get help. I think they were actually trying to leave her for dead, so that nature would naturally kill her. Then, the craziest thing happens. This 12-year-old girl who was stabbed 19 times into her liver and stomach, she's bleeding profusely. She drags herself out of this park to the road. And this park is described as a wooded area. It's probably a little bit further away than the road. It's probably, I would say, I don't know. I would guess, I'm staring at the Workman Center right now. If you know how big the Workman Center is, maybe half of the width of the Workman Center is what I'm thinking. She dragged herself a considerable amount, and a bike rider actually found her and called 911. Then these girls, not even 5 hours later, were apprehended. They walked 5 miles away from the scene of the crime. They had the knife that they used. It was in a bag that they were carrying around. They were setting out on a mission to go to Slenderman's mansion, which is in the Nicolet National Forest, which is a 200-mile hike from where they were at. This is so sad. This is mental illness because they were trying to walk 200 miles to somewhere. And the girl that had schizophrenia reportedly had no empathy whenever she was interviewed. And like, doing the confessions and stuff. She had no empathy. The other girl, however, did, but she agreed with Geezer that, like, this needed to happen in order so that these girls would not be killed. And the girl that was attacked, she left the hospital 7 days later. Isn't that nuts? Like, that is just... She was stabbed so many times! I'm just so nuts. And she's 12. There are people that get stabbed like that who are, like, in stable condition and they still die. But that girl had a will. And that is crazy. It's absolutely nuts. If you are curious, the girl with schizophrenia was charged with attempted first-degree homicide, a Class A felony, and the other girl who was with her was charged with attempted second-degree homicide, a Class B felony. They were waived out of juvenile court to be tried as adults. Weir pleaded guilty. Geezer accepted a plea offer under which she would not go to trial and would be evaluated by psychiatrists to determine how long she should be placed in a mental hospital. She later pleaded guilty but was not found guilty by reason of mental disease or defect and was diagnosed with schizophrenia, for which her father also suffers. So, thank goodness they understood that she had mental issues. I would have been really angry if they just locked her up and didn't do anything about it, but thank goodness they got her diagnosed, and at least she's getting help now. Weir was sentenced to 25 years to life. She is spending at least 3 years locked confinement and involuntary treatment in a state psychiatric institute, followed by communal supervision until she is 37. Then Geezer is given the maximum sentence for her age, 40 years to life. She needs the 3 years locked confinement, and she cannot leave until she is 53, or if she has complete resolution of symptoms, whichever may happen first, which is crazy. Weir submitted a letter to the court stating that she was sorry and deeply regretful for the agony, pain, and fear I have caused, not just the Leutner, but the girl, but to my community as well. I hate my actions for May 31st, 2014. This was in 2014, by the way, guys. But through countless hours of therapy, I no longer hate myself for them. Which is good. I think this girl was easily influenced. And she was a young girl, guys. Like, young. It's just so sad to see somebody... how peer pressure and stuff can affect somebody. It's just sad. Anyway, so that is the Slenderman murders. It's just really interesting, and it's weird to see how much pop culture can affect somebody, especially with mental illness. And it's cool because I was in a debate class, and I had, like, a subject where we talked about, like, whether or not social media should be, like, a good thing or a bad thing. And the group arguing that it was not a good thing said that, like, it can cause people to, like, have mental disorders. And I said no. It really depends on the person. Like, they can literally just come up with these at no given reason or time. And if they see stuff like this and it affects their mental disorders, it can affect them really bad. And in this case, really, really bad. So it is definitely interesting to see this, like, play out and everything. Yeah, so that is the Slenderman murders. Next are the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. These are called the Delphi murders. So this town is very similar to the town where I grew up. It's this very quiet, quaint town. You know, no crimes ever really happen. These girls are, you know, sweet. They were 15, I think, at the time of the murders. And this was on February 14th or 13th. I don't know, actually. So these girls had school that day, and then they were let out early for something. I think this is like a half school day for, like, intervention or something. So they were out of school, and one of the girls' sister drove them to this park, like, wooded area. It's a very, like, popular place. Yeah, it's a hiking trail. It's called Monon High Bridge, over Deer Creek, among woodland in remote Deer Creek Township. Okay, well, anyway, it's like kind of like a wooded area. There's this really pretty bridge. Like, the girls wanted to go and take pictures. These are also referred to as the Snapchat murders. So, whatever you remember as. Like I said, this is in 2017. So, these girls are dropped off they were 13 and 14, actually, my bad. One of the older sisters dropped them off and said they were going to pick them up later or whatever. So, at 2:07, one of the girls posted a photo of the other girl walking on the bridge. And after that, they were not heard from again. They were reported missing at 5:30 after they had failed to meet German's father at 3:15. Yeah, so the father was going to pick them up. They were not there, so they were reported missing immediately. So these girls were immediately, reported missing, and everybody was looking for these girls, like the entire town. A lot of people were, I'm so confused. So they released police sketches because this guy was seen around the area, and he also was in the background of the girl's picture. And I think I'll include it on the thumbnail today, but, like, it's just creepy because it's believed that this guy killed these girls. They did find their bodies, so they were dead, and they did arrest somebody, but this is so recent. He was going to have court in January 2023, but it got, like, postponed or something. So he's actually, like, still in custody, ready to go to trial for this. And we don't know who the guy is, or at least I don't know, on this Wikipedia site. But anyway, yeah, it's just really sad, especially that it's little girls in a town where, like, you wouldn't expect any of that to happen. And I hate, like, just because it's a small town, like, bro, I feel like a lot of bad things happen in small towns that just don't go unseen because people don't want to think that it's bad, but it is. Next, we will talk about Elizabeth Smart. Okay, so this is the case of Elizabeth Smart. So this girl was kidnapped at age 14 by this guy named Brian Mitchell from her home in Salt Lake City. So this girl, literally, she was stolen out of her room, and her sister watched. Her little sister watched her get kidnapped. So she was literally, she was gone for, I think 9 months. But she was gone for so long, and her family had no idea where she was. She was 5 miles away from her house. Her and her captor and her captor's wife were living together in a little commune in the mountains of Utah. And it was literally just those 3. Okay, so this does have sexual abuse, so I'm sorry, trigger warning. If you feel like you can't listen to that, skip to the next story. I think you can see the transcripts in the captions, so you can look off those, or you can just stop watching. But she was repeatedly raped, and they were brought into public, and they all 3 dressed in white robes, and everybody knew that this girl was gone, but she was never seen. But there are pictures of her, in this, getup. So, basically, they find out that the guy that kidnapped them, that kidnapped her, actually, did work on their house before. So that's how he knew, how to get in and everything. And he was spotted with a woman and a girl in Sandy, Utah by 2 separate couples who had seen photos of Mitchell on the news. That woman was Wanda Barzee, and the girl was Elizabeth Smart, disguised in a gray wig, sunglasses, and veil. So they did finally find her one day. She was rescued, and Mitchell and Barzee were both arrested. So, yeah, but the cool thing is that she actually, talked to them and got a relationship with them to get back at them. So she was trying to, get into their heads and then, make them do what she wanted or something like that. She was able to get through to them. If you look at Kendall Rae's video, she goes into a lot more detail than here, obviously. But it's really interesting. Just the way that she was kidnapped, and she was 5 miles away. That would be crazy. Okay, the next case I have is the case of Tracy Wigington. This is also a case where she had mental illness. So, she is known as the lesbian vampire killer. So, basically, this girl was, so she was a teen pregnancy, and her mom didn't want to take care of her, so her grandma took care of her, and so did her grandpa. So she remembers her grandma being so abusive, but her grandpa would always be really, really sweet. So, she, hated her grandma and everything, but her grandpa was, her best friend. So this girl grows up. She discovers that she is a lesbian, and she meets her friends in college, and she has girlfriends, and basically one day she kind of gets this weird thing where she decides she's a vampire and she needs to suck people's blood. So she, like, finds pig's blood and stuff, like, stuff that, like, you know, she wouldn't have to kill for. But she was like, this is not enough. I need human blood. And these girls are out one night, and she says this, and the girls are like, okay. So they pull over to the side of the road. They, like, pick up this guy that's walking, and they took him down to this beach. And this girl, I just want to get these details right. This girl so the guy was drinking heavily. Okay, so he would have bled really bad. So she tried to, make him think that, they were gonna have sex. So he was, undressing, and she went to the car to get a knife, and then she stabbed him 27 times, nearly severing his head before drinking his blood. So, and what's weird about whenever they found this body, he was still naked, but his clothes were, perfectly folded. The girl knew that, she did something wrong. So, she is arrested for the murders, but I'm pretty sure she was, found not guilty, or if she was, she just went to a mental institution, to, figure out her issues. So, this woman had an extreme case of dissociative identity disorder. So, basically, if you've heard of DID before, you probably actually haven't, sat down and, really understood what it is. So, DID is basically your brain does walls of amnesia. So, basically, it is triggered. Well, I mean, it can happen from anything, but it is triggered by traumatic events. So, this girl had a few alters. One that was similar to a 6-year-old. She was just, very scared and very sweet. And then she had another one that, wanted to be, dominating, and that was the one that killed. So they actually found out the reason why she has a 6-year-old. You would assume because of her grandma. Well, actually, it was her grandpa. And he had molested her multiple times. And she had no idea because these amnesia walls were so prevalent in her life, she literally forgot it. She always had a really good perception of her grandpa because she had completely forgotten it. Isn't that crazy? That is nuts. How could you forget something like that? You know what I mean? It's just so weird to see mental illness play out because it is so crazy. Okay, I'm gonna take a bite and then we're gonna talk about our last story. About Skylar Neese, who was killed by her 2 best friends. So, Skylar and this girl named Sheila had been best friends for majority of their life. And then once they hit high school, a new girl moved to their school named Rachel. Sheila and Rachel got along really well, but Rachel and Skylar did not. They weren't like enemies, but like they just were not as close as Sheila and Rachel were. One day, these two girls decided that because on the claim, this is what they said in investigation, because they did not like Skylar, they were going to kill her. That is literally the only reason why. But there's some speculation on that. But that's what they said to, authorities. So, they, Skylar had just gotten off of work. She worked at Wendy's, which is amazing. I love that for her. I love Wendy's. So she just got off of work. She snuck out of her apartment, at 12:30 a.m. on July 6th. And this was in, 2012. So, the girls go, and then, they go to this, basically their weed smoking spot. And the girls are all sitting there, and then Sheila and Rachel both go 3, 2, 1. This is what is so crazy about this case. They count down, and then they stab her. I want to see how many times she was stabbed, because that is so interesting. I don't think I'm gonna find it, but basically, she had so many stab wounds that she died from bleeding out, and the girls left her there to bleed. So then she had a work shift the next day, and she was the kind of girl, she was a really sweet girl, and she went to work every time. She wouldn't call in or anything. She was just a very good worker. She didn't show up to work, and then the girls were like, we don't know where she is. We did hang out with her, but we dropped her off. And they were like, no, you didn't. It's not on the surveillance camera on the apartment complex. And they said, well, they dropped her off a little bit a ways back so that they wouldn't see it on the camera. And then they never saw her on the camera, so she must have not even, made it near the house, basically, is what they were saying. So, they end up not even finding Skylar's body until after winter. This was in July, and they hadn't known where this body was at, because it had frozen over, and there was snow, and they literally could not find this body because they couldn't break the ground. But they ended up finding her, and the girls ended up, getting charged with the murder. But what was so weird is there were search parties, and Sheila and Rachel would both be like to this girl's parents and be like, oh, we're so nervous, we just want Skylar to be okay, knowing that they did it. And these girls were active on Twitter, and you can go read their tweets and stuff, and say oh, Skylar, I miss you so much. But the days leading up to Skylar's death, Skylar posts stuff on Twitter that is I wish I had real friends, not fake friends, and stuff like that. So they had issues. Basically, what they think is what happened is Sheila and Rachel are really close because they are girlfriend and girlfriend. And this is not acceptable in small towns like this. So they had their secret completely under wraps, but Skylar knew. And I think their anxiety got to the best of them, and they have undiagnosed mental disorders. So they decided the only way to keep their secret was to kill. Which, once again, this could be so easily prevented. You know what I mean? Like, it is okay. It is fine. It's totally okay. Especially if the other alternative is to kill. You know what I mean? It's so, like, upsetting that they thought that the only way was to end her life. It's so, so sad. Anyway, those are the cases for today. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know. And like I said, if you have any suggestions on what I should talk about next week, or if you want to be interviewed, please let me know. You can just text me or anything. I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I actually don't have an idea for next Monday's episode, so I can't give you a question. I'm really, really sorry, guys. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much.